what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Lone Wolf 902. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at another hot tent. This hot tent is the Lavvo 6 from Nortent. So let's get right into it. All right, guys, so right off the bat, you can see this tipi is more of a circular design. It doesn't really have defined sides. There's about 24 to 26 pegs that go around this tent, so it really makes a nice circular design, which is really kind of interesting on the market. Most hot tents have defined sides, either 5 or 6 or 7 sides. This design makes it really ideal for being indoors, as it has a perfect circle shape on the inside, maximizing space. Now today I do have a wood stove in here. As you can see, the chimney pipe up here coming out of the stove jack. I have the Nortent titanium stove inside. We'll have a look at that once we move inside, but first I want to go over the features outside of the tent. All right, guys, so the first feature I want to talk about on the outside of the tent that I really enjoy is you can notice the tent has a lot of guy lines. Okay, this is a rather large tent. It guys out and it is insanely stable in wind. We've had nothing but rain the last 7 days. The tent is completely soaked still. I had no intentions on leaving it out that long. I got wrapped up with personal life and work and family, and it just sat out here for 7 days in very heavy rain and very high winds. And each day I came out to check on the tent, I was surprised that I did not have to tighten up any guy lines. I didn't have to cinch in any guy out points. The tent was standing still. Now I didn't have the stove in there, I should say that. The stove wasn't in there. I ended up putting that in today actually. But the tent was dry inside and was very, very sturdy. Talking about the sturdiness, the guy lines. We all know when we pack away our tents, those guy lines turn into a massive ball and they're all tangled and it's not fun. Nortent fixes that with a simple bungee cord up here with a little toggle, and bam, there's your guy lines ready to go for the next time. You can put them up there, take them down. Awesome feature, love it. All right, guys, while I'm on the back side of the tent, I might as well show you guys the door. There is actually 2 points of entry of this tent. They're both identical. This is the rear door. There's the same door on the front. Now, if you look really close, you can see there's a seam here, and then there's a seam over here. So that's one triangle cut piece of fabric. What they've done with the door design is they came down to where those seams meet. They start the door there, and then they go up on an angle to the adjacent seam, okay? This is a really smart idea because it only goes up about 4 foot tall. And what happens is when you're in a teepee tent and the door goes all the way to the top, when you unzip that, you're essentially letting snow and water fall right in the middle of your sleeping area. This tent, you don't have that problem. You can unzip it halfway, crawl in, even if it's up all the way. It's really not having any area where rain or snow can fall directly onto the sleeping area. So I really like that feature. It shows that they put a lot of thought into the design, and they definitely use their gear. So this is one door, same on the other side. I'll unzip both doors now, and then we'll go over to the front and we'll start our way inside of the tent. All right, so moving over to the front door of the tent area. Before I go inside, I want to mention that the tent does have 2 vents in the front. So there's a half moon vent over here. You can close that. It is guy out adjusted, so you can run the guy line on that if you want, or you could close it shut. Same vent over here, making it really, really nice, getting some of that fresh air to come in because the stove is directly behind me. We'll talk about that more in a second. The tent does have snow skirts all the way around. Now they're completely covered in water because, like I said, it's been out here in the rain for a few days. But it does have individual snow skirts, which is really nice that they've done that. And then it also has this internal skirt of about 8 to 10 inches, and this goes on the floor all the way around the tent, giving you a really nice kind of a shelf area to place gear and whatnot. We'll show that when we go indoors. But the door system, unzipped, you can see the mesh inner is more of a D-shaped mesh inner. So it starts here and then it goes all the way up. So show you guys that feature. Really nice door design on this. I do enjoy it, much like the Nortent Gammy 4-person freestanding hot tent. I also have a video on that, so if you're looking at more of a freestanding hot tent, definitely check that tent out. So I want to get this door rolled back, and then I'll bring you guys inside and you can have a look at the stove placement to see how close it is to the mesh inner. We'll talk about some of the features, and then we'll get the mesh inner out of the tent and I'll show you the footprint without the mesh inner. All right guys, so here we are inside of the Lavvo 6 front door area. We've got the Nortent titanium stove set up with the pipe going out the top. I do have a full review video on this stove, so have a look through my review playlist if you're looking for more kind of detailed look at the stove. The reason I got it in here is I want to show you guys the proximity of the mesh inner, because at first you might think looking at photos of this online that it's going to be much closer. It's really not. Okay, so I've got the door pointed straight, and I've got a generous 12-inch gap all the way up from the pipe to the back of the stove to the mesh inner. So there's loads of room for safety. Now talking about the mesh inner, it has a 3-way zipper design. One zipper goes one way, the other zipper goes the other way, the other zipper goes straight up, gaining access to the inside of the mesh inner. So I'm going to open up both of these doors and then we'll have a look at a more zoomed out shot so you guys can see the whole layout. All right, so here we are inside the mesh inner. I'm really struggling with camera angles here, so hopefully this makes sense. So I'm in one sleeping compartment. I am 5'7". The center seam is down there by my feet. I've got another 2 to 2.5 feet above me. I could sleep 2 people in here, no problem. So 2 people on this side, 2 people on the other side, right where you guys are sitting, the camera. And then you do have access to the stove from both sides. So, interesting design that they did with the stove. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it a whole lot, but there are 3 windows in the stove. There's one on each side and then one in the front. The only reason why I'm mentioning that is because if I were in here sleeping on this side, I could see into the side window to see what the stove is doing, how it's burning. Same as on the other side, right where the camera is, you can see in to see how the stove is burning. That front window, it lights up the whole tent when the door's shut. This tent lights up a lot with natural light from the stove. So this should give you a really good look at what we've got going on here for our interior space. This tent is very large. Just like the name says, Lavvo 6, it is a 6-person tent. However, right now in this particular configuration, I would sleep maximum of 4 people. Ideally, very, very, very comfortably, and with loads of room to get dressed and eat and do whatever you got to do, I would say 2 people. So, very nice tent, very roomy. You can see that the area that we're sleeping in it does have a full floor. It is seam taped and all that good stuff. Now, this is cut in like a little pie slice. So, you have the stove on bare ground, obviously. And then you've got this whole area in front of the tent, which is a good third of the tent that's just natural ground. So you can split firewood, you can walk in with your shoes on, get all the snow off, hang your stuff up, crawl inside the sleeping area without making a mess of the tent. All right guys, so coming around to the back door of the tent, I'm outside, kind of inside. You'll notice that there's a generous gap here. It's about 1 foot to 1.5 feet of bare ground, and then another 6 to 8 inches until the zipper, okay? So the reason why they've done this is you can gain access to the rear of the tent so you don't have to walk around the stove. You can unzip the mesh inner like I've done here, come in, sit down inside of the tent, and then you can take off your boots, your snow gear, whatever you got going on. And then this area here, you can either store your backpack, firewood, whatever you want. It's natural ground. Hop inside the tent, zip the door up, and there you go. Really awesome design with the 2 entries. All right guys, so here's a second view at the rear door. You can get a really good idea of how much livable space is inside of here and the benefit of having 2 doors. You get a nice clean shot right through the tent. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to disassemble the mesh inner. I'm gonna take it out and I'm gonna show you the tent without that installed. All right guys, now that I've got the mesh inner out of the tent, I wanna talk about how it installs, because I know some of you are probably wondering, how does it install? They use a simple buckling system that's color coded. So we've got gray, we've got black, and we've got orange. There's only one orange spot on the whole tent, so as soon as you click the orange into the corresponding orange buckle inside, you then go to the other colors. Very, very simple. It's foolproof. You cannot mess this up. It is very, very simple. So we'll get this out of the way, come on back inside of the tent, and we'll take a look at the interior space without the mesh inner. So we're going to use the stove as a point of reference now that you've seen what it looks like with the mesh inner. Kind of use that idea and look at what it looks like without the mesh inner. there is a ton of room inside of this tent. It is massive. You could fit 6 people in here. It'd be a little tight, but you can get 6 people in here, no problem, all right? Sleeping along the sides of the walls isn't bad like most teepees are, because they've got guy out points, reinforced guy out points all around the tent, which helps to kick out that sidewall and make it a little bit more vertical rather than sagging in on you. So this makes a really, really nice tent. I personally love this tent without the mesh inner. There's a load of room. Okay guys, coming back outside of the tent, I want to talk about this vent, because we did talk about 2 vents in the front. There's also one in the roof. On the other side, you can see the stovepipe. On this side, we've got a little kickstand vent. So right now it's shut. You do have an adjuster here. So if you want to kind of tighten it down, you can, or loosen it off, whatever you prefer. If you want it open, take the kickstand, pop it under there, it Velcros. Now you've got it open. And like I said, you could tighten this up a little bit more, make that a little bit more rigid for snow. You can access this from inside of the tent as well. There's actually a zipper inside up at the roof. So if you don't want to come outside, you can unzip, reach out, grab this little kickstand arm. You can open it or close it whenever you like, whether the weather outside is good or bad. They also sent a floor, okay? I'm not going to set this up in the video for the simple fact of it's the exact same footprint as the mesh inner, okay? So it clips the same way. It has that little V cut out. The stove goes in the middle. It just doesn't have the side wall. So if you do want a semi kind of clean tent and you want a nice clean sleeping area, this is a floor. It is not a bathtub floor. It's just a flat ground sheet that clips into the corresponding buckles all the way around the tent, just like the mesh inner. Excellent addition if you don't have any bug issues, but you do still want a little bit of ground sheet protection from damp ground, or maybe you don't want sticks kind of punching in your sleeping pad. Definitely look at getting this. Coming back inside of the tent one last time, I want to talk about the center pole. This is a fully adjustable center pole. It's got 6 holes on the side, adjust it up or down. I currently have it set on the 3rd hole from the bottom, and I find that works great. It is aluminum. It does break down into equal sections, so it packs inside of the tent bag. And it also has a rubber foot on the bottom and the top, which is really nice to prevent any kind of sharp edges from tearing the tent. So I'm going to take the tent down, get it inside of the stuff sack, and we'll show you guys the pack size, and then I'll talk about the weight and a couple other final details. I'm loving this teepee style tent. Very, very cool. The mesh inner with that little pie slice that it has, so you can have the dirt floor area with the wood stove, works really well. So I love having the mesh inner and the wood stove working together, and then once winter rolls in, you can kind of ditch the mesh inner and move to just the outer tent, which is really awesome setup. So I'm really happy with the tent. I give it 2 thumbs up. Love it. You guys will be seeing it on the channel this winter and many winters to come. If you guys have any other questions about the tent or any of the Nortent products, I'll do my very best to answer it down in the comment section. So go ahead and drop your comments down below. And I'm going to clean up and I'm going to head back inside my house. So peace out, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.